Namaste, friends. Today I will talk about a topic that is very simple to understand and yet very useful in optimizing our activities and being more productive and also being more happy and peaceful. This is based on Shiva's teachings to Parvati in Shiva Swarodaya Shastra. This is based on the nasal cycle. What is nasal cycle? We have two nostrils through which we breathe air, through which prana gets into us, and the two nostrils have different behavior. The right nostril is associated with sun or the solar channel, known as Pingalanadi in yogic terminology, and it controls structured thinking, deduction, logic, objectivity, rationality, analysis, etc. And at a very deep level, it controls the push instinct, pushing things, force, using force. On the other hand, the left nostril is associated with moon, the lunar channel, also known as Idanadi in the yogic terminology, and it controls unstructured thinking, intuition, emotion, etc. And it also controls the pullback instinct. And everything in life is a balance between push and pullback, push and pullback. And even though we try to get a balance between these two, at a given time, one of them will dominate. And that can be seen based on which nostril is more dominant at a given time. Even though we breathe through both the nostrils, at a given time, one nostril will be more predominant. The other nostril will be blocked. It will be either completely blocked or half blocked, but one nostril will be clearly more open at any given time. And how can you find it? Well, you can breathe through one nostril, for example. So I can see that when I breathe in and out through the right nostril, it is kind of blocked, whereas with the left nostril it is very free right now. So my left nostril is more open right now, so the lunar channel is more active in my case right now. And you can see, you can, and another experiment is you can put a mirror in front of your nose and you can breathe out air and then you can see, because of the vapor that comes out, you will see some markings on the glass of some water vapor, and you can see which side is bigger. And suppose left is bigger, then left nostril is more active at that time. So like that you can see, and with practice you can actually just observe and you can see, okay, this one is more active. And also if you put a mirror and breathe out, you can actually see one nostril is more it is open more. You can actually see it physically also. So you can figure out how you can observe your breath and observe which nostril is more open at a given time. But the thing is, it is very useful, and I'm going to explain how. And one more thing, it is not always the same nostril that is open. It changes with time. Roughly every couple of hours or so, every 1.5 hours or couple of hours, there is a transition from one nostril to the other nostril, and there is a transition period when both of them are equally open and is basically going back and forth, and then it settles down with the other nostril, and after a while again the same back and forth, and then settles down with the other nostril, and so on. So this is the nasal cycle, and this is known to modern science also now, the nasal cycle. And it is connected to the two halves of the brain has two halves. The right nostril is connected to the left brain and the left nostril is connected to the right brain. And when you are breathing more through one nostril, the corresponding half of the brain is more active. And modern science knows that these two halves of the brain are associated with two different nervous systems we have within us, the sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system, to use the medical terminology. And again, science realizes that these are controlling the push and pull back instincts within us. Now, why is it relevant to our activities? Well, some activities need more of a push instinct. On the other hand, some activities need more of a pull back, relax, take it easy instinct. And if you try to do an activity that requires pullback instinct during a time when push instinct is the strongest in your system, in your nervous system, it's not going to succeed. and vice versa, the same thing. Suppose you are doing an activity that requires push instinct, but you are in the pullback mode at that time, it's not going to fly. So like that, different activities need different instincts. So that is basically the fundamental idea. So if you figure out what your current phase is, whether you are in the sun phase or moon phase, based on the nasal cycle, you can plan the right activities. So let me give a few simple examples. Of course, this is, once you actually think in these terms, you will see that it's pretty much common sense. Suppose you want to do some exercise, physical exercise. Obviously, that is not a pullback kind of activity, right? That's a push kind of activity. So if you want to do some physical exercise, better do during the sun solar channel phase, the right nostril being more open rather than the left nostril being more open. And suppose you want to defecate in the morning, again that requires a push instinct. Your nervous system is in the push mode, not pull back relax mode. So again, right nostril is more conducive. And suppose you want to just relax, do nothing, enjoy a movie, watch a movie and sit back on the sofa and enjoy. Obviously that's a pullback kind of activity. When the solar channel is more active, if you try to do that, it's not going to be really that productive. So you better do during this time. And the best example is, suppose you are trying to sleep, and at the time you are trying to sleep, your solar channel is more open, your right nostril is more open, so there is the push instinct in your nervous system is more active. But sleep is basically the absolute pullback activity. When you when you when your nervous system is trying to exert something, it's not easy to fall asleep. So suppose you try to fall asleep when your solar phase starts, you're going to find it difficult to fall asleep. So if you try to align your sleep time with the pullback time, if you observe your cycle over a day, you see when it's changing. If you note it down, you can basically predict at what time the left nostril period is going to come. So if you try to sleep during that time, you will get better sleep. You can fall asleep faster. And suppose I want to write something creative, write a poem. Again, those kind of activities are intuitive, emotional kind of activities. So again, during the pullback period or during the lunar channel, it is likely to be more productive. So like this, you can look at various activities and put them in the solar bucket or the lunar bucket, push bucket or pullback bucket, and based on that, you can pick the right time for it. So you can align, as I said, you can align your activities to the active nostril right now. And suppose you really need to fall asleep now, but your right nostril is strong. Can you do something about it? Well, you can change your active nostril. You can. There are a couple of ways that are given in the Shastras. One is you can lie down on the side of the active nostril. Suppose your right nostril is more active and you want to change it to left so that you can sleep nicely. By the way, if you forcefully change it, it will take like 10 minutes or so, but after those 10 minutes, once the change is completed, it will basically resynchronize and it will stay that way for the next couple of hours or so. So basically it's not going to immediately change back. So it is basically something safe to do, but it's not something you should overuse. This is something that should be used when it makes sense. So what you can do is, suppose my right nostril is open and I want to switch it. So lie down on the side of right side, on the side of the active nostril. So basically on the armpit there should be pressure. When I lie down, there will be pressure. The other option is I can put some pressure under that armpit. I can basically press here, and if I do that for 5 to 10 minutes, automatically, because then breathing through that nostril will become more difficult. So brain and the nervous system will automatically trigger some changes, which will open up the other nostril automatically because there is less obstruction there. And yogis did this. Instead of putting their arm under the armpit or lying down on one side, yogis used what is known as yogadandam. You may have seen this in movies or in pictures where rishis carry this. What they did is, when they sat down in Padmasana, they put it under one of the arms, under the armpit, and that basically aligns the breath. with the channel that you are interested in at that particular time. And one small note here, sometimes through the breath, you can also get a heads up about impending ill health. Suppose the same nostril, whether it's right or left, is open for 3.5 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, like that. It's not changing at all. That means there is an imbalance occurring in your system, which means some disease or ill health is about to come. So when you realize that, before it gets out of hands, out of control, if you try to balance it, and if you take precautions, if you take some, suppose you sense that there is some, maybe you are getting some cold, you have some cold symptoms, take some medicine like that. Basically take some precautions based on the other symptoms you have, and also try to change the nostril. That can basically, if it is a borderline case, it can avoid that impending ill health. So this is the other useful thing. And here I just want to make a comment about day and night. The time when the right nostril is more active, the solar channel is more active, that is basically the day, the inner day, not the outer day, but inside you it's like a day. And the left nostril, when the left nostril is more active inside you, that is like within you, that is like a night. So these are the inner day and inner night within you. And per day there are about 8 inner days and 8 inner nights. And the transition period, like I said, it is like 2 hour, but maybe there is a 40-minute transition period in between when both of them are either equally open or it's basically going back and forth. So those are called sanjhas, dawn or dusk. Dawn is the transition from night to day, and the transition from day to night is dusk. So both of them are sanjhas, and those are the inner sanjhas. And one really important point to note here is sanjhas are the best time for meditation. See, people say that if you meditate during the sanjha time, during dawn or dusk, it is useful, right? That is true. Instead of meditating at a routine time, if you can align it with the sanjha, do it 45 minutes before or after sunrise or sunset, it is very useful. That is a useful time. But the thing is, compared to the outer sanjha, the inner sanjha is even more effective. So if you notice the cycle within you on a particular day, because every day it can change. When you get up in the morning, you may start with the solar channel one day, you may start with the lunar channel one day, and so on. So if you notice which is more open, and then you see after how much time it is changing, and try to basically figure out if you can identify when the next sanjha is going to come. So during that time, if you sit for meditation, it is very conducive for fruitful meditation. What is the rationale behind it? Well, the thing is, when the Pingal Nadi is more open, it is conducive to consciousness flowing through the Pingal Nadi. When you are breathing more through the right nostril, consciousness is more likely to flow through the Pingal Nadi. When the Ida Nadi is more open, when the lunar channel is more open, the left nostril, your consciousness is more likely to ascend to flow in the Ida Nadi. And in yogic terminology, we have a middle Sushumna Nadi. That basically is very important for spiritual perception. In other words, Ida Nadi is for intuition, understanding things through intuition. Pingal Nadi is for understanding things through deduction, through breaking things down and logic. And the Sushumna Nadi is just pure perception of what is there. So for spiritual experience, Sushumna Nadi is very, very, very essential. So if you are meditating when both Ida and Pingala are balanced, there is a higher probability that consciousness will flow through the Sushumna Nadi rather than through the Pingala or Ida Nadi. So from that perspective, meditating when both the nadis are equally open is the best time. So compared to the outer sanjha, the inner sanjha is very, very effective. So you can try meditating during inner sanjha in future, and if you do it a few times, you see that it is very useful. And one more lesson from this is, why is sanjha effective? Because there is a balance between day and night. One of them is not dominating. So similarly, you have to, even when it is not Sanja, even in day and night, if you try to basically achieve balance between the logic and intuition within you, don't overuse logic or don't overuse intuition, but try to find balance. Similarly, don't push things or don't pull back and relax always. You try to strike balance between the two. Then you are creating a Sanja like state within you on a constant basis. That is very useful. So it is always good to find some balance within you as an ongoing basis. So as I said, too much of solar channel and push will cause burnout, and too much of lunar channel and pullback fattens in a figurative way. Basically, it makes you lazy. It's not really desirable. You need to really have balance between the two, and then only you achieve balance in life. And this is a very generic principle. This is not just with sadhana. Suppose you are doing some project management at work, and here the solar channel or the push stand for having lot of structure, having lot of rules, etc., that you have to follow in your project. And too much of lunar channel and pullback stands for not having structure, going by intuition, things basically being flexible. So one is structure, the other is flexibility. And if you have too much structure, then it is suffocating. If it is too flexible, then basically things become chaotic. So you need to find the right balance between structure and flexibility, so that it's neither chaotic nor suffocating. You have some structure that you can follow, at the same time you have some flexibility, so that you are at ease. So this balance between the push and pull back, between structure and flexibility, is the fundamental thing of life. So we have to find it in our sadhana, we have to find it in our family lives, we have to find it in our professional lives, and so on. This balance is very important. So I think I will end with a verse from Sri Suktam. One small point I want to make is when it comes to the Arsha Vidya, the teachings of rishis, the beauty is there are no boundaries. It's not like, oh, this is Veda, oh, this is Agama, this is Tantra, this is Yoga, this is all separate. No, everything is combined. It is very holistic in the understanding of rishis. So there are these two verses in Sri Suktam. Those who can chant Sri Suktam may recognize these. These suktas are really, there is a lot of confusion with respect to these suktas. This Ardram Pushkaranim Pushtim Suvarnam Hevamananim Chandram Hiranmayin Lakshmi Jatavedam Avaha. So Pushti, Suvarna, Hevamanani, Chandra, these words are basically changed in different ways between these two verses. So there are many permutations and combinations that are given in various printed versions, and also different priests use different combinations. But the thing is, if you apply yourself and think logically, this is basically the only correct combination. And you can see here, Pushti, Suvarna, Hemamalini and Chandra, they go together, and Yashti, Pingala, Padmalini and Surya, they go together. They belong. Why? Because Pushti stands for nourishment. Yashti stands for, it comes from the root yaj, which means to sacrifice, to burn, like in yajna. So Yashti is burning something. Pushti is nourishing something, enriching something. So Chandranadi is the one that causes Pushti, and Suryanadi is the one that causes lunar and solar, is the one that causes burning. And the Chandranadi is golden hued, and the Suryanadi is Pingala, means red. It is dark red hued. And this is like a garland made of a string made of gold, whereas this is like a string made of lotus, red lotus. So Hemalini, Padmalini are associated with Chandra and Surya. Similarly, Suvarna, Pingala, Pushti, Yashti. So these two verses, even though there is a lot of confusion in today's modern world with respect to these verses, if you understand the essence, if you understand what exactly it is trying to convey, you can actually put things together. Like this, there are so many corruptions, whether it comes to Veda, whether it comes to Jyotisha, whether it comes to Vastu, whether it comes to Tantra, Agamas. There are a lot of corruptions that crept into our understanding in Kali Yuga. But as I always say, if the blessings of rishis and devas come on you after you do enough sadhana and you are ready for a particular knowledge, it just reveals in a split second. And you may have a lot of confusions before, but once the correct understanding descends on you, you have no doubt this must be it. Basically, it will be so lucid in your own mind. So like this is just an example, but what I was trying to say is, point number one, even when there are corruptions, there is an inherent structure in the teachings of rishis that you can figure it out if you are so destined at the right time. Second thing is, all these concepts of Chandranadi, Suryanadi, causing push and pull back, all these concepts are integral to our understanding, integral to the teachings of Shiva as well as rishis. So they are, you can see them in various other things that you may not realize are related, like the Sri Suktam. And before I end, let me actually chant this. Om Ardram Pushkarinim Pushtim Suvarnam Hema Malinim Chandram Hiranmayim Lakshmim Vyatavedo Maavaha Ardram Yahkarinim Yashtim Pingalam Padma Malinim Suryam Hiranmayim Lakshmim Vyatavedo Maavaha. Actually, honestly, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing or wrong thing by putting the right version, because for all I know, somebody much wiser than me may have intentionally corrupted this in this age. But if I am making a mistake, may I be forgiven. And to conclude, learn to observe your breath occasionally and try to get a sense of your nasal cycle when the transitions are happening, etc. So be aware of your cycle and pick the right activities at the right times. Either the right activities for the time or the right times for the activities that you are interested in. And in exceptional cases, you can change it forcefully to benefit from the alignment with your current activity, and also try to find balance between them and try to take advantage of the transition time, the sandhya, the inner sandhya, for meditation. So on that note, I will end this small session. Thank you very much. Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Sarve jana sukhino bhavantu. Yavad bhumandale sanatana dharmo vardhatu. Visheshatah Bhartakhande, America varshe, Tibet rashtre cha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.